Welcome to the Rosbeast Rugby Top 14 Round 9 predictions. Round 9 is the final round of this first block of fixtures. It's felt like a really long slog. Some teams have had enough of a narrative for a full season. You know, they've gone from hope to disaster back to hope again. Round 9 is also the first of the doublons, as they're called in France, the rounds that run alongside the international fixtures. And the Autumn Nation Series will affect some clubs, Toulouse, more than others, such as Clermont. That picture then also changed midweek with the release of certain players back to their squads by Fabien Galtier. Again, that has affected some sides, Toulouse, more than others, UBB. I've also had to redo this preview this week because I couldn't properly work out what was happening with all the other international teams. But ultimately, this weekend is outside of the international window, which means that Scotland and Fiji don't have the right to take their players from their clubs. So none of Kinghorn, Ben White, Jasuta Sova, Luke Tangi, Sueli Mangala, none of them are playing on Sunday in that fixture. For all the other international sides, they will have been in camp this week, but they should all still be available for their clubs. So Italians, Argentinians, Georgians, Tongans, South Africans, they should all be available, which means it's just the players retained in the France squad by Fabien Galtier that are unavailable. First up, Clermont v UBB is actually two clubs now least affected by international call-ups. Clermont's only absentee, Regis Montagnier, has been released back by Fabien Galtier, and he's not a regular starter for them anyway. UBB looked to be decimated, but they have had Luku, Guzzotti, and Maxime Lamotte all released back, so they're still missing Jalibert, Murfana through suspension, and their wingers. So it's interesting to see how this goes. Plenty of drama for Clermont after their defeat last week, both on and off the pitch. They completely didn't turn up away at Stade Francais, and for all their criticism of their away form, they are still very, very good at home. They don't lose many to internationals, but they have also got a lot of injuries. UBB looks to have a kind of surprising amount of players available, and they've been really impressive a few times on the road this season. Clermont's line-out could cause UBB a few issues. If they can stop them at source, that will help. I'm going for Clermont. Think the Marcel Michelin factor is a big, big boost. Rich going for UBB. They do get a lot of players back, and there has to be some doubt that Clermont's defence can live with that UBB attack. Castres v Montpellier, two teams largely unaffected by internationals. Montpellier do get Lenny Nucci back, but they're going to have another halfback combination. Hogg injured, and Reinach will have been training with South Africa this week. He probably will be able to play. Castres are unbeaten at home. There could be some titanic scrums in this. Both teams are going really, really well there. But Castres are going to be too organised for Montpellier. Their halfbacks will have control, whether that is Fernandez or Arata at 9, so probably Fernandez, I reckon, this week, and whether it's Popolan or Lebrun at 10. Leonie Nakarawa isn't even in the Fiji squad, and he's back playing some of his best rugby, so Castres should win that one. Toulon v Lyon, both teams had disastrous results last weekend. Toulon's change-up side got hammered away at Toulouse, and Lyon shipped 49 points at home. Toulon were always going to pick a stronger side this week. They've been boosted then by the release of Charles Olivon, Antoine Frisch, and Gabin Villiers from the France squad, whereas Lyon are without Michael Gouillard. Regardless of that, there's two big, powerful teams. Could Lyon's pace out wide, their pace and intent, trouble Toulon? It's possible. They've been improving away from home, but we think Toulon are going to be much stronger this week, and the Stade Mayol factor is a big one here. Pau have had a couple of tough weeks. Home to Toulouse, away to UBB, but Joe Simmons MBE was rested last week, as among a few others. They get Teo Atisogbe back. Good news for the Atisogbe's, the Teo Atisogbe fan club. Racing were resurgent in that first half against USAP. They're back at La Défense, but this weekend they're back on grass and outside again. Crucially, they are without Nolan Le Garrec. He seems to score all of their points. In fact, he scored 85 of 205 points for them this season. That's over 40%. Pau have been really good at home this season. They play with loads of pace and could cause trouble to that Racing defence, especially without Gael Fickou. And even though they've got Joshua Tursova back in that side. Racing are quite a good matchup for Pau. They aren't hugely strong in the areas that Pau are weak. So Pau to win this one, but there could be a lot of points. USAP v Van is a massive game. But the bottom two sides, the Argentinians, the big one here, both have a few in their squad, but they are available, even though they've been away in camp for 3 days. That's huge for USAP. They get Joaquin Oviedo, they get Ignacio Ruiz at hooker. For Van, they still have Pedemonte and Gorison in that back row. Really key for their physicality, especially given the forwards-orientated game they seem to be playing. USAP just aren't scoring that many tries, but Van have been pretty woeful away from home. USAP, we know, have a minimum goal this season of winning every game at the Emi Giral, and having a big ball carrier like Joaquin Oviedo, who kind of carries hard and carries frequently, to give them go forward should help with their attack and get them scoring some tries. So USAP should win this one, and possibly quite comfortably. La Rochelle and Stade Francais had two sides without a few key players. Stade were back to their best last week, whereas La Rochelle were nilled away at Montpellier, which really isn't a good sign. But they seem to be a completely different side of the Marcel de Flandre this season. They are no doubt impacted by the internationals. They're down a couple of tight heads, one through injury in Weenie Antonio, and a few back rowers. Their line-out has been a complete shambles this season, and Stade last week were back to where they were last season, which is a real area of strength for them. So Stade could cause La Rochelle some real problems, especially the scrum, if it's as good as it was last week. We think La Rochelle will win this because they just seem to be a completely different side at home, but it could be very, very tight. And then final round of the weekend, the Sunday evening game at Stade Jean Daugé, Bayonne find themselves in third all of a sudden. Brilliant and hugely surprising win away last week at Lyon. They're playing some great rugby at the moment. They look to have developed some real options in that back line. And that is one thing Toulouse don't have this week. Options. But of their 4 international fullbacks, 3 of them should be available. Only Thomas Ramos missing. They are missing 2 international scrum halves. Malia being available is pretty key here because it means they do actually have someone that can play 10. He was brilliant at 10 last week. He will have been in the Argentina camp this week, but he should be available. Bayonne's Argentinians have been largely overlooked by Felipe Contepomi anyway, so they should have been able to train all week. Extra cohesion there for Bayonne, maybe. Either way, Toulouse are missing the core of their side. So that's Malvaca, Julien Marchand's injured, Miafu, Flamand, Cross, Roumat, Dupont, Ramos, Paul Coste. But they always seem to have incredible amount of cohesion no matter what side they name. Bayonne are missing 1 tight head in Tavita Tatafu, but Luke Taggy should be available. That's probably an area they can get away with slightly against Toulouse. They should bring loads of physicality to this, an area that where Toulouse have been disrupted, possibly their physicality. And the disruption generally of the different combinations is going to be hugely disruptive for Toulouse. Fortress Stade Jean Daugé, so we are backing Bayonne to beat the Rouge et Noir of Toulouse. So lots of agreement between us this week. A couple of huge games. It's certainly a couple of games where if a side picks up a win, it could make all the difference. Even like come the end of the season. Apologies for the lack of clarity over some of the selections and availability. It's just another element of unpredictability this weekend in top 14, as if it was needed. We're looking forward to hearing where you guys think we've got stuff wrong. So please get in touch in the comments.